The Ice Age did not disappear overnight. It melted one river at a time. The world they remembered no longer existed. Even mountains could change, given enough time. A child who had grown up with snow was meeting a river for the very first time. Life returned quietly, one flower at a time. The forest was becoming generous again. The world no longer echoed with silence. It sang with life. The animals had returned, and they were no longer running from the cold. Bora had lived through the longest winter, and now he was watching the earth begin again. The Ice Age had ended, and a new world was waiting to be explored. The earth was becoming unfamiliar, in the most beautiful way. The skies were alive again. The forest offered new gifts to those who learned its secrets. Nature had been building long before humans ever learned. The river was no longer an obstacle. It had become a path. For the first time, the river carried them farther than their feet ever could. Someone else was living beyond the trees. For the first time, strangers did not become enemies. The first trade began without a single spoken word. Civilization did not begin with conquest. It began with cooperation beyond the tribe. The greatest discoveries often began with strangers walking side by side. Knowledge became the most valuable thing anyone could share. Trade began with trust, not treasure. Children needed no common language, only curiosity. Ideas could travel farther than people. Not every meal needed to be hunted. Humanity was beginning to work with nature instead of against it. For the first time, food came to them. The world had survived, and humanity was learning to thrive. Humanity's future would not be built by one tribe alone, but by many, learning from each other. Every sunrise revealed a world they had never seen before. Some trees had survived longer than any human memory. Sweetness had returned to the world. Humans were learning to harvest without destroying. Nature rewarded those who treated it with patience. Not every giant had disappeared from the earth. For once, there was no need to chase them. The greatest victory was not needing to fight. The story of humanity had become larger than a single tribe. A new world had been born, and humanity was finally ready to build it. The earth was becoming richer than anyone had imagined. The land itself had become a teacher. Not every encounter needed to become a hunt. The forests no longer offered only survival. They offered abundance. Every creature knew how to build a home. The camp was beginning to feel less temporary. The next generation no longer remembered a world divided by fear. Something was growing, where no one had planted on purpose. Nature was quietly revealing its greatest secret. Soon, humanity would stop wandering, and the world would never be the same again. Every day, the plants quietly reached toward the sun. The earth was feeding something, long before humans understood why. For the first time, in the Bouvignon Navy were not. They gathered food that would not be eaten today. Sometimes history begins with a simple accident. Life was becoming more than survival. It was becoming a future. Even the birds seemed to know where life would return. Their camp was slowly becoming a place worth returning to. Civilization grows faster when knowledge is shared. The river carried more than water. It carried the future. The Ice Age had ended, but humanity's greatest journey was only beginning. Every step through the valley revealed another gift from the earth. Even the birds understood where tomorrow's food could be found. The forests offered more than shelter. They offered abundance. For the first time, they were saving the future instead of eating it. For the first time in his life, Bora wondered if they might never need to leave. The world was learning peace, one moment at a time. Sometimes friendship begins with a single act of kindness. The first companion of humanity may have chosen us first. Families were growing, and not all of them were human. Without knowing it, humanity had already taken its first steps toward villages, friendship, and civilization. Fear was slowly giving way to trust. A friendship was changing both species forever. The camp was becoming something humanity had never built before. The answer had been growing quietly, right beside their home. Observation became the first science. Trade was becoming more than survival. It was becoming culture. He had survived the Ice Age, long enough to witness the birth of a new world. Humanity had stopped merely surviving. It had begun to belong.
These tiny seeds would one day feed empires.
The next chapter would not begin with hunting, it would begin with planting. To be continued in episode 6, The First Seeds were the birth of agriculture.